Welcome to The Abundance Journey, the show that helps spiritual entrepreneurs create an abundance mindset that accelerates revenue. Here's your host, the Abundance Ambassador, Elaine Starling.
Do you know that the average person spends over 90,000 hours of their life at work? Yeah, but most of us, unfortunately, never truly master the art of authentic leadership and fulfillment. Well, what if you could actually learn directly from somebody who helped shape the very foundations of the modern personal development movement? Yeah! Welcome to the Abundance Journey, where we activate abundance in every area of your life by partnering with the divine. I'm your host, Elaine Starling, the Abundance Ambassador, and today's guest is nothing short of legendary. This woman has blown me away. We were chatting before I started the recording, and thank heaven I finally started the recording because I'd have her here all day. Marcia Martin is a slightly revolutionary, utterly brilliant, intuitive, and magnetic force in the world of transformation. She's a best-selling author of the book Sex, Power, and Transformation, a page turner for sure. She's a global speaker, executive trainer, and personal and business coach. She's worked with icons like Jack Canfield, and she helped launch the Transformational Leadership Council. She has personally trained over 300,000 people worldwide. She even produced the first Great American Smokeout for the American Cancer Society. I mean, what a slacker. Like, what she hasn't done is shorter than what she has done. From living with indigenous tribes in the Amazon rainforest to walking the red carpet with George Clooney. Her life reads like a spiritual adventure novel, one that bridges heart, purpose, and world-changing leadership. Get ready to discover how true abundance is activated through presence, connection, and courageous self-expression with the extraordinary Marcia Martin. Welcome. I'm so glad you're here to join me for the Abundance Journey.
Wow, Elaine. Oh my God. I want to meet myself after that introduction. Holy crap.
Do you remember doing all that stuff?
Actually, I do remember, and that's why my book is such a page turner, as people say, because it is an amazing adventure life and so many things I've learned and had the opportunity to contribute, and I just feel really blessed for my life.
Yeah, and we're so blessed that you were willing to step up and make those contributions because, you know, we all tend to have self-doubt and we all tend to question what we are really doing to make a difference in the world. And you have just set the bar pretty darn high and really shown up in your highest and best possible self to make a difference for millions of people around the globe. So thank you for doing that. I really appreciate you being you.
Thank you so much. You know, I have a great gift in my life that I was so young when I had such great mentors, people like Werner Erhard and Buckminster Fuller and Jerry Weintraub from Hollywood, and just Oscar Ichazo, who created the Eureka Institute, and just so many amazing, beautiful people. And so I learned from a very young age that anything was possible, and that I had personal power and that I could create and I could contribute. So, you know, I took it for the truth because, you know, when you're young, you just say, oh, really? You can do that? And then you do it.
Okay.
So yeah, it's one of the things that happened. I did create quite a bit for sure.
Wow. Well, Marcia, I want to bottle this and I want to make sure that we take a couple of minutes to connect our energy together, yours, mine, with the entire audience, along with the God of your understanding, what I refer to as the divine. So there's two different things that we're going to do to connect our energy. The first thing is we're going to take 3 long, slow, deep breaths together. And as we breathe in through the nose, think the words, I am. And as we breathe out through the mouth, think the word consciousness. I'll remind you when we get to that part. And of course, if you can't keep up with my pacing, don't worry about it. The divine understands what you're up to. Do the best you can. If you're listening to this and you can't stick with me or Marcia, no worries. No harm, no foul. Okay, then the second thing that we're going to do is we're going to hold an intention. I'm going to share an intention. I always point at my heart with intention. And then we're going to hold that in silence for 78 seconds. Because the latest research is that human beings have a shorter attention span than a goldfish. Goldfish has a brand new life every 8 seconds, and human beings have a shorter attention span than that. So we're holding it for 78 seconds to give the divine time to lock in on that new vibration. The intention sets a whole new vibration that Marcia and I are fulfilling through our conversation. How cool is that? So, are you ready to play?
I'm ready, and I bet your audience is too.
Oh, I can't wait to get started. Let's go ahead with the 3 deep breaths. Breathe in, I am. Breathe out, consciousness. Breathe in, I am. Breathe out, consciousness. Breathe in, I am. Breathe out, consciousness. In love and light, we are so happy and grateful that we align with calm awareness, releasing anxiety, restoring harmony, and remembering that peace and purpose flow naturally when we honor the divine within. Thank you, divine. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is done. We give thanks, and so it is. Wow, that was really cool. What was your experience like,
Right.
Marcia?
Oh my goodness. It gets everything settled, doesn't it? It makes everything so clear and in the present, and a place where you can be centered before you start acting.
Yeah, it's funny. I experienced the divine as effervescent joy. Just
I know you
over the
do.
top, happy, excited, delighted, playful, silly. And I got this image of angels high-fiving. Like they were
Oh,
just having
nice.
best time, high-five and having a great time. And I just got this deep, the other thing that happened, it's really funny. Every once in a while, my computer will make a tone. I don't know if I'm receiving emails or what, but it makes a tone. And when I'm holding an intention and I get a tone like that, I know that that's the divine. It's like they did a little check mark. Okay,
Yep.
done. That's fulfilled. We're on it. You're good. I was like, awesome.
Yeah. Check on that.
Wow. Thank you, God. How can it get even better than this? Man, oh man. Well, you have an incredible background and your book is amazing. I want
Oh my
everybody
gosh.
to read it. It's
This
so
is my
good.
book, Sex, Power, and Transformation.
Yeah. Well, tell us a bit about it, because obviously you're really passionate about what you're doing and about the book. You've captured this experience for us. Tell us about it.
Well, I've been saying for the last 45 years, I'm going to write a book, and everybody's been telling me I need to write a book. And every time I'm in front of a room, whether it's 20 people or 300 people, if I share a story, they say, "Oh my God, do you have a book?" And I always had to say no. And so now I can say yes. And this is the story of many things. I think it's a magical book. It has its own magic, and it's getting itself out into the universe in its own way. It's already a bestseller on Amazon and one of the #1 hottest new releases in Canada and the US. So this is my memoir, at least part of it. I will say there are things I didn't write in here, but mostly it's a story of a young girl, myself, who came into womanhood in a man's world, and how I dealt with that, being a powerful woman and dealing with men with power. And also, it's the history of the human potential movement, because I was one of the original founding members of an organization called EST, Earhart Seminars Training, which was at the very beginning in the early 70s of the human potential movement. And we started with one seminar with 31 people. And I became the vice president, and I was in charge of filling events and training the graduate seminar leaders and the guest seminar leaders and the staff, how to communicate, how to enroll, how to market. And I produced all of the events. And we started with those small workshops with 30. Then we went to 60. Then we went to 120. Then we went to 250. And then we started doing them every month. Then we started doing them twice a month. Then we started doing them in more than one city. And pretty soon, by the time I left, almost 10 years later, there were almost 800,000 graduates. So it was an amazing ride. I met amazing people. I learned amazing lessons, and I was able to take all of those lessons out into the world and then continue on with the human potential movement, with self-help and self-development. As you said, I co-created the Transformational Leadership Council with Jack Canfield. I ran Tony Robbins' business and company for 2 years and helped take him national and helped him launch his first book, Unlimited Power. And so I work with John Hanley, who was the founder of LifeSpring. I work with Bob Hoffman, who created the Hoffman process, Quindrinity process. I mean, it just goes on. And I feel like I am the Forrest Gump of transformation, because I just happen to be at the beginning at the right time of all of the pivotal points and programs and companies of the self-help industry, which is now a $48 billion industry. So it's been an amazing ride for sure.
You know, and I love that you are a powerhouse woman in that environment, because I remember the 1970s, it was not very pro-woman at all. It was very difficult to make a stand and really make a name for yourself, and that you have been so consistent and so dedicated to making a difference in the world and really making a contribution. Your gifts are so valuable. Not to diss on any of the men, they all contribute really wonderful things. Women contribute in a different way, and women hear from other women in a different way. So, wow. Okay, I have to ask
and also,
you.
I have to tell you that I have something in common with you, and I love that you talk about the divine. When I first started my education, I interned with my aunt before I met Werner, before we started Mind Dynamics, before we started EST, before there was any landmark, way before, when I was just a young girl of about 20, maybe almost just having gotten over my teens. And she was a clairvoyant healer and an esoteric astrologist. And so I interned with her, and she taught me how to heal, which was an amazing thing at that time, because you couldn't really say what you were doing with energy and metaphysics at that time. You kind of had to keep it a secret. And she always said I was a light worker and a white witch. And so she taught me magic, the magic that we all have of how to create in the world, and how to bring intentions into reality, and how to dream and cause our dreams to be real. So I've been doing this work since I'm a very young girl.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I have so many questions for you. So the first question I want to make sure to ask you, I ask the same question every single guest. I get a different answer every single time. And I think it's so perfect. Given the kind of work that you do and the book that you just wrote and your incredible background, how do you define abundance?
Oh, very good. How I define abundance. I think abundance is our birthright. I think that we have abundance first, and it exists, and it is the true story of what's so. And then we, being humans, put obstacles in front of that abundance so that we don't notice it, or so that we believe something that's not really true, that we don't have it. And so I think abundance is all that is, and all that can be, and all that was, and all that will be.
I love that answer. And you are so right. It's like, it's just too easy that abundance is already there and I can have it whenever I want. Let's just make this a little more interesting, shall we?
Obstacles in our way.
Right. It's like, what are you thinking? Just insane. So I would love to get some clarity from you about a download that I received recently, because I kind of pride myself on being an upbeat, happy, positive person. And the divine showed me that for all my upbeat, positive, happy person, I create an equal and opposite amount of energy in the other direction. Because whatever you create, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So I was then guided to look again at power versus force and the map of consciousness, the different higher levels of consciousness. And above love is the level of joy. Above joy is the level of peace. And the only thing higher than peace is enlightenment. And peace is where you are purely objective. You release all judgment, you release all emotion, you release all resistance. You just accept what is what is, and no judgment around it. It must exist for a reason. Somebody up there knows why. I don't. That's okay. I'm just going to trust that it's needed for some reason that I don't understand and will never understand. And so there's this interesting dichotomy, because we're wobbling all the time. We're wobbling in and out of consciousness. And during my stroke, when I had an incredible conversation with the divine, started this whole thing for me, one of the messages I received was, we don't need you to be in alignment all the time. We actually deliberately scoot you out of alignment so that then you suddenly notice you're out of alignment and you use your tools to get back into alignment. It's being out and coming back in that actually expands the divine. It expands the God of your understanding. So you've been physical many times in the past. You will be physical many times in the future, because this is the rock star place to be. This is the cutting edge of the divine. Hello? Of course you want to be here. So there's an interesting struggle, I think, and I'd love your take on it, between accepting the human self and how we get triggered and we have our emotions. And instead of beating ourselves up, just noticing that this is my truth in this moment, recommitting to that intention of what we are choosing to create. We're in charge of the what, which is our intention. The divine will guide us, the how to achieve the intention. What's your experience been around this whole thing?
Well, you said a lot in that small amount.
Sorry.
About many things. I think, well, first of all, I think we have to separate a few worlds. So there's three worlds that you live in: the world of being, the world of action or doing, and the world of reality or having. So the world of being is an invisible world, and it's where dreams and intentions are created. But dreams and intentions and possibilities are real as a dream or an intention or a possibility. They're not real like a cup or real like a desk, but they're real in terms of being a dream. The world of action, what we do, is very interesting, because there's only three actions. There's only three. There's you listen, you speak, and you move. Those are the 3 actions. That's what you can do. Everything is about your body and how it moves, and about language, how you're listening and speaking. That's an action that you take. Now, here's where the breakdown is. Somebody's watching you move, speak, listen. Somebody watches you in action. And we have an automatic process called create meaning. We're a meaning-making machine.
So true.
Yeah, it's something that we do automatically and naturally, and we don't have to. I love it when I say, okay, what do you have as feedback for this person? And somebody else, because I do a lot of work in corporations, bringing teams together and having them really learn what real leadership and communication mastery is. And somebody will always say, oh, I haven't known them enough to have any feelings for feedback. And that's not how it works. You have feedback called judgments, which is what you were just talking about. Like a person walks by you who's a total stranger, and you already know if you want them, like them, adore them, hate them, they're okay, they're stupid, they're nice, they're big, they're little, they're like, you just make up a bunch of stories. And we do that automatically. We interpret what the action means. And then we create that meaning and we add it to the action. And then we make a mistake. We say that the meaning we added, our interpretation of the action, our meaning that we gave, what the action means to us, is what happened. And that's not what happened. All that happened only is the action. And there's only 3 actions. Something moved, or you spoke, or you listened. So everything else is an interpretation of what that action means. Now, here's where it gets really kind of gritty, okay? When you make an interpretation of action and you say this is what happened, then you can cause all sorts of trouble. Because what you say is what happened was she was angry. What happened was he was lazy. What happened was he didn't want to, or whatever. You're adding meaning to it. When all that happened was he smiled, or laughed, or didn't smile, or shrugged their shoulders, and then you added that meant lazy, or that meant sad, or that meant happy. So the first key to being an effective human being really is to learn to separate the domains of the worlds of action and interpretation so that you know what happened, which is the action, and then you can look to say, now what did I say that meant? And if you can look at life that way, then you can start to ask the person, hey, this is what I thought you meant when you were frowning. I thought you were sad and unhappy, or I thought you were mad at me. But you can ask the person, what's really going on with you? Now, what's even more interesting is once you make an assessment or an interpretation, that's how a person shows up for you as an identity. So people exist in terms of who they really are. And then people exist as an identity. The only person that knows who you really are is yourself. And you rarely share so vulnerably and truthfully with anyone that anyone is privy to that information. So who you are to everybody else is an identity. In other words, it's how you show up for them. And what creates the identity is the assessment that you make or the interpretation that you have. And if your assessment is they're lazy, then how they show up for you is lazy. And that's how they exist for you. And then you operate, coordinate, collaborate with that rather than with them. And so it's this amazing little thing. And what I'm getting to is what's really going on is things just exist. And there's speaking, listening, and action and movement. So nothing means anything until you add the meaning to it. And what you're saying that you do in life is you try to look at life in such a way that it is the way it is, rather than adding all this meaning to it. Now, it's easy to do that when it's a tree. Think about it. You go outside, the tree is growing a particular way. And you don't go up to the tree and say, screw you, I'm so mad at you, and you did this wrong, and you shouldn't be here, and you consider it is the way it is, and you deal with it the way it is. But if you have a person in front of you or a situation that means something to you, then all of a sudden you add meaning to it and you can't see it just as it is this way. What way is it? Well, if it's a person yelling at you, all it is a person yelling at you. It doesn't mean that they're terrible or mad or good or bad or, offensive or not offensive. Those are just interpretations. All that is so is there's a person and they're speaking loudly. And that's just what's so. If you can deal with what's so, and this is really important because the only place that you can get to any other place is from where you are. So if you can't understand and confront and be with where you are or with what's so, you'll never be able to move because you can't move except from where you are. So it's really important for you to be able to look out at life and consider, oh, this is the way it is. Somebody's angry. This is the way it is. Somebody's sad. This is the way it is. Somebody yelled at me. It doesn't mean you're bad, you're good. It's bad, it's good. And we can do that with some things because, think about when you're surfing, if you've ever gone surfing. Sometimes there's high waves and sometimes there's low waves. When you're on a high wave, you don't sit there and, figure out in your head, this wave, I'm so mad at this wave. This is a bad wave. I hate this wave. Because if you did, you would fall off the surfboard because you have to be in present time and do what's necessary in that moment to get to the shore. And so, it's being a human, I think, is being effective as a human is getting to the place where we can deal with things the way they are. They're not good or bad. They just are the way they are. I know people come up to me and say, I had a bad day. And I say, well, what made it a bad day? Well, I had so many phone calls. Now, think about that. It's so funny. Well, why would that be bad? Either it's I had so many phone calls or I had not enough phone calls. We can make either of them bad.
Yeah.
But if we just dealt with them the way they are and consider what's the appropriate action now that is the way it is, then we can be effective.
Yeah. It's so interesting. You remind me of a download that I received just recently that everything is love. Everything is guiding you to love. And every interaction is a request for love.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone is upset and they're freaking out, they can't be present for themselves to give them what they need. They need outside support to be able to calm down and come back to that space of equilibrium and inner peace. And when you can be present for them and hold that space for them and give it a safe space, right, where they can express themselves freely, people crave the opportunity to be seen and heard and valued exactly the way they are. Messy hair, bad hair day and everything. They just want a little grace, please. So when you can show up that way, it just makes all the difference in the world. And
Yeah.
I just want to memorize your book because I know what you just shared with us. I want to listen to that 20 more times because it was so clear. And it's also a little convoluted to try to think that way when you're not used to thinking that way. So, oh man.
That's one of the gifts I think I have in a seminar or workshop that I lead or when I'm coaching is I'll speak and somebody will look at me and go, It changes the way they see
Does not compute. Yeah.
And I want to add something to what you just said when you said everything is love, because what you really said is that's a perspective that you're choosing. Okay? So think about this. You know that picture that you can see, and there's lots of different kinds, but one is an old woman and a young woman. Okay, and sometimes you look at it one way and it's the beautiful young woman that shows up. Then you look at it another way and it's the old hag witch that shows up. Now, think about this. They both exist at the same time, but you can only see one or the other in any one instant. So that's how the universe is. Everything exists. There's what works and what doesn't work. There's abundance and there's scarcity. There's good and there's bad, just like the old woman and the young woman. However, what shows up for you, what you see first when you look out into the universe is not what's there. It's all there. What you see first is what shows up for you, and what shows up for you is dependent on the perspective. So when you look at that old woman, young woman, if you just change your viewpoint, the perspective a little bit, you can see the old hag. And then if you change it back, then the young woman shows up. So it's the perspective that you're changing. So the perspective allows what occurs for you in the universe. Everything's there, but what occurs for you is what you act into. It's what you collaborate with. It's what you interact with. It's what you communicate with. So it's the thing that you're using to produce results. So a better question is, instead of asking, is it good or bad, is what's a perspective that allows it to work? Now, what you gave me was a perspective. Your perspective is everything is love. Well, I happen to have the same perspective. Why? Not because it's true, because I don't know what's true. Right? But because it works.
Yeah.
It works better if I consider everything as love. I just notice that when I come from that perspective, things show up for me in certain ways that allow me to produce my life better in terms of results than if I look at life from the perspective everything is screwed up.
Yeah. And I love that you have the same perspective, because honestly, that was a divine download. I was given that perspective. I was told, this is the perspective we want you to adopt.
There you
and
go.
so that you validated that for me is like, awesome. It's working for you pretty obviously. I mean, check out your book, right?
Yes. And let's look at this too, Elaine. Think about it. That's what reality is agreement.
Yeah.
People think that there's something out there and then you agree on it. No, you agree on it and it creates it. So you and I have just agreed on a point of view. All I've said is, hey, I look at life that way too. Everything is love. And then you look at life that way. Everything is love. Okay, we just made an agreement. We just came into agreement. Now that thing got more real. And pretty soon it's real in the world that everything is love. Do you see? So we create reality from agreement, not the other way around.
I love this conversation. Absolutely love this conversation. I'm reading a fabulous book right now. It's called...
I just have to say something about you that I love. I love that you love this conversation, because I can't think of anything that you wouldn't love, just based on...
Well, this is true. This is true. But I'm having so much fun with this conversation, because you're helping me think in a new and different way, in a much more expanded way. And that has a lot of value for me. But I wanted to share something with you. I'm reading a fabulous book right now called The Expanded Mind. And the idea is that we don't just think between our ears. We actually think with gestures, hand gestures. In fact, when you use hand gestures, people are able to understand you more rapidly. They remember it better. They absorb it better. They understand it with their fingers before they do with their mind. It works for everything, with problem solving, with scientific discovery, with you name it, gestures. Sure. Big time gestures. And of course, your environment makes a huge difference. I have a sign behind me, happy, grateful, and truly blessed.
I saw that.
Because I'm on Zoom all the time. I see that sign all day long on Zoom. And it's my come from. This is the reminder. Yes, I am happy. I am grateful. I am truly blessed. Yes. And I project that out into the world in front of me. And it's a celebration that I bring, so that everything you share with me becomes a celebration of an illustration of how I am blessed and I have so much to be grateful for. So yeah, it is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. The perspective you choose is the gift you receive.
And you do choose your perspective, which is the magic of it all, is when people realize they can change their perspective. Because what a belief is a perspective that someone has hypnotized themselves into thinking is real. But it's really just a choice that you've learned from growing up and being told this is the way it is enough times that you've agreed with it. And now it becomes a justice system for you. And you think you're bad if you don't do it that way because it's a belief. But it's really just a perspective. And you get to choose your perspective. I remember when I was in the in the rainforest with the Ashwar tribe, and I lived there for a few weeks. With the chief would come up to us, and he would say, "Oh, you people from the north," and he was talking about us, the civilized world. He said, "You people consider that you're like the fingers on a hand. Each finger is so important. You think you're so important, and you're so." It's all about you and what you need and what's yours, and you're so individualized. You don't realize or notice that you're connected to a hand, a community, a team, a family, a country. There's something bigger than just the fingers. They're an extension of a whole tribe. And then he said, even worse, you don't notice that your whole system is connected to an ecosystem, that we are one with the stars and the animals and the dirt. The soil is our soul of our earth, that, we need to take care of our soil so it produces good grass so that the animals and the plants can eat, so that they can be nutritious, so that we can eat them, and then that we're nutritious, and it creates the weather and all of those things. So if we took care of the soil, which we don't, everything would kind of fall out from there. And how I look at it is, if you imagine the ocean, this great body of water, and I love how you say the divine, and that's the great consciousness, like a great ocean. And when the ocean slams into the rocks when it comes to the shore, it spreads spray as it crashes against the rocks, and individual parts of the ocean come up. And I say those are individual expressions of the ocean. And you and I are individual expressions of the divine. You're the individual expression, Elaine. I'm the individual expression, Marcia. I have a different kind of nose than you do, and I have a different kind of way I think. And I'm my own individual expression of the whole piece. And if I can be connected and aligned and come from that alignment and remember who I am, then I have the power of all is connected and all is one. So
Yeah.
I love how you speak and what you say, and I love that you start with the breath, and I love that you start with silence, and I think it's a real gift for people that how you do what you do, my dear.
Thank you. I so appreciate that. And all of it is divinely guided. I have a TEDx talk called Abundance is a Choice, and I'm really talking about your intention is really the what you choose to experience. And then your attention, your focus is on everything that aligns with your intention. There's so many other things out there. Like you said, you get it all, but you don't have to pay attention to it all. And it's so funny. I don't watch the news. I don't pay attention to negative things. And people will accuse me sometimes of not being engaged with life because I'm not paying attention to that part of things. And yet, garbage in, garbage out. And I choose to fill my cup with the best of life. Now, I'm sure you've heard of the 7-day mental diet.
What's the 7-day mental diet?
You've never heard of it? Okay. Well, I got to share a quick story with you. 7-day mental diet was something invented in the 1930s. And for 7 days, you do not blame, shame, judge, criticize, or gossip about anyone or anything. No bad juju. And you do not absorb any negative stuff. You don't watch the news. You don't watch scary movies. You don't, take on any bad stuff. So nothing bad in, nothing bad out. So it's a practice. It's, a challenging thing to do on an ongoing basis. And I was practicing the 7-day mental diet. I went to the grocery store. I kid you not, every single aisle, somebody was arguing about something. And then I get to the checkout and there's all these headlines about a natural disaster. And then I overhear people complaining about, what's happening with politics and stuff. It's like, geez. So I get my groceries. I go out to my car. I sit down. I connect with the divine. And I'm like, really? I'm trying to be positive here. You're not helping. What's with the negative waves? Why do you keep showing me all this stuff? And they said, we are guiding you. And you are guiding us. Every time you notice something that you don't personally know how to fix, like the homeless situation, starvation in another country, a conflict or a natural disaster, We expect you to immediately envision everyone involved or impacted 2 energetic levels above where they are now. Right now, they are in the flames. We expect you to envision them as the phoenix, whole, healed, and well. When you do that and you envision them in that state and you send them love and blessings, we can help them. We are guiding you and you are guiding us.
Yeah, it's perfect circle.
And I was like, holy mackerel, no pressure. Okay, I'm on it. Yeah, it's an interesting world we live in, and you've seen so much of it, and you've been at the forefront of all of this. There's one question I love to ask because I always like to get hints and tips and how
Sure.
I can get better. Because I notice that when I really want my external world to change, something has to shift inside me before I get that transformation on the outside. What have you noticed? People have to be willing to change inside to have that transformation.
Well, actually, if you know about feng shui, you also know that it can happen both ways. So if you create the environment around you in such a way, it will change the inside. If you create the inside in such a way, it will create the outside. I think that people don't understand about the mysteries and the energetic fields and the metaphysics of the outside. So mostly people look to see how they create the outside in terms of what looks pretty. But it's energetically, if you create the outside a certain way, if things are in a certain place, if there's a rock or a plant or a picture of something in a certain place, then it has a certain energy and it will cause the insides to change. But what you're talking about is the other way that creation happens, which is the internal dream, intention, feeling, emotion is what is there, which is the consciousness. And for me, consciousness is in 4 stages. So usually consciousness is, when it starts, it's like a victim conscious, where you're saying, oh, I'm at the effect of life. Life is working itself on me. Life is doing itself to me. And, you know, you're a victim mentality. And what usually breaks you from that to cause you to go to the next level of consciousness is you have some kind of breakdown or hurt or some kind of just something that just takes you down so far that your will says, I will not have this happen. I will make this happen. And you pull together that inside kind of intention that says, I'm going to create this. I'm going to cause this. And it pops you out of the victim consciousness into something where you can create. But that next consciousness is you create for yourself. You know, that's where it's all about how many houses do you have, how much money do you have, how many times do you get divorced or married, how many kids can you have, how many certificates do you have, and you get to a place, what kicks you into the next consciousness is you aggregate together and accumulate so many things that they don't really supply you with what you really are yearning for. And you start questioning and you say, is that all there is? And it's that question that really takes you to the next level of consciousness where you realize that there's something bigger than you. There's something more important. There's some purpose or some cause. You're talking about homelessness or starvation or something that you can make an impact to and make a difference about. You get to that point where you realize you can never get enough of what you really don't want. There's not as many houses, cars, etc., that can make you fulfilled as a human being or joyous. And so when you say, I'm going to be about something bigger than just my own petty needs, that's what the chief was saying. It's not about the fingers. There's a bigger thing going on. You're attached to a community. You're attached to an ecosystem. And that's a really great place for people to be because they have a higher purpose. And you've been called to have that, I can tell, and that higher purpose guides you in terms of what you want to create. There's something that happens beyond that to many people Not everybody, but I think people like yourself, people like myself, where the universe or the divine, as you call it, notices. The universe notices that you are about something bigger than yourself, that you're contributing, that you're making this a better world, that you're doing something good, that you're giving back, that you're making it a better place. When the universe or the divine notices that, then it pops you into a different consciousness, because then the universe uses you. When the universe uses you, now you're at a level that you have to be very aware, because it's not your desires that guide you. It's the greater purpose and the greater good and mostly we have still desires, and we fight for our desires. And sometimes when you're in that state of consciousness where you're being used and you try to hold on to something that is a place where you shouldn't be or a thing you shouldn't do, and I've been there just like everybody else has, well, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. I want to make this work. I like where I'm at. And usually if you get a few warning signals that, this is not the place, this is not the thing, this is, and you get a couple of knocks on your head. And then if the universe notices you don't listen, I'm sorry, the universe will take you down and throw you out and spit you out and put you where you need to be. And those are big, hard lessons when you're being used. But it puts you in the place where you realize a little bit later, oh, this is why I was asked to be in this place, because this is the next assignment I have. This is the next purpose for me. My light can bring something else here and nobody else's light could. So I think that whole consciousness thing is about what you're talking about as well.
Wow. Marcia, I cannot wait to finish reading your book, because there's so much juice in there. There's so much wonderful ideas. Could you share like one or two little tidbits that for somebody who's just kind of getting going along these lines? Of course, they're going to pick up your book and they're going to read your book, but
I hope they do.
One or two little tidbits out of the book that would really help us get going in the right direction.
Well, this is an interesting book because it's not a how-to book and it's not an information book. It's a story book. It reads like a thriller. I'm going to read just a couple paragraphs here because it's about my story and my life and how I experienced it and the lessons I had and what happened to me. But the way that it came out, and it's magical, I'm telling you, I didn't use AI and I didn't use a ghostwriter. I wrote this myself. I had an editor and she, did what editors do, make sure it's grammar correct and all of that. But she did a special thing for me. She kept saying, how did that make you feel? What did you learn from that? And so it went really deep. So here's the prologue. This is a story of power and transformation, of miracles and manipulation, of profound healing and terrible abuse. But mostly, it's a story about patterns, the ones that shape us, trap us, and sometimes, if we're lucky, set us free. So what I did was I shared how I grew up and what I learned from that and why it took me to the next level of where I was and the adventure I had along the way and the lessons that I learned from that. And some of it's not pretty. I don't come out of this looking like the most amazing person you've ever met. I have my foibles and my frailties and mistakes that I made and things that I needed to ask forgiveness for. But I learned in the end, and what this book is really about, because it is about the human potential movement and about when we give our power away to a charismatic guru or a fabulous person that says they have the answer for you, is to be wary of anybody giving you your answer. Mm-hmm. They will give you, there's so many great programs, personal development programs, books, courses, meditations that you can do that are valuable for you to find your own wisdom. And that's a big trip. It's a dangerous trip. It's kind of like when I first learned what transformation was. When I was a young girl, I was there'd be 1,000 people at the guest seminar, and I was telling them about the S training and why they should take it. And the purpose of the S training was to transform the way in which you were experiencing living so that things cleared up, right? And so I would tell that to people, and all these hands would go up, and they would say, what does transformation mean? What is transform? You don't understand now because it's such a buzzword that nobody knew what transformation was. And I remember going to Werner and saying, what is transformation? I'm getting all these questions in the seminar, and I need to tell him. And he said, oh, it's something like, it's kind of like when the caterpillar turns into the butterfly. And I thought, well, that's good. So for years, I started saying, oh, I'm just a young 24-year-old girl. I'm saying, oh, it's like when the caterpillar turns into the butterfly. And everybody was happy about that. Well, then years later, I found out what it was like to have a caterpillar turn into a butterfly. And it's a dangerous, terrible experience. That caterpillar does not turn into a butterfly. It's like the caterpillar's eyes don't become butterfly's eyes. The caterpillar totally melts into a soup. It totally deconstructs its whole entire existence as a species and goes back to the primal juice of what everything is made of and reconstitutes itself into a butterfly.
Yeah.
And what's even more amazing is a caterpillar doesn't do anything for the planet, just so you know. All it does is eat. There is no good purpose for a caterpillar.
There's good purpose for butterflies, though. So, there's a little intentional goodness.
Yes, because that's the point, is it? When you transform, what happens is you become a butterfly. The butterfly and the honeybee are the only reason we are existing. So you go from something that doesn't even matter or contribute to anything to something that gives life to everything and everyone. Now that's transformation.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
What an incredible distinction. That is just amazing. Marcia, man, I am so tempted to kidnap you, and on Zoom that's hard to do, but we could give it a try. You offered an amazing gift. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
I am going to give you a free month of my Marcia Martin Club. And you go to marciamartintransform.com. And there will be a website there. Marcia is spelled Marcia. So marciamartintransform.com. And you can put in your information, and it will give you a free month of my club. Now, here's what my club is. And I designed this before COVID. So I got this idea before anybody was on the computer doing all of this stuff. And I think it's pretty amazing. I've led so many seminars and workshops, and I, for some reason, would always have somebody film me. And then I carried these workshops and tapes and digital things, not digital, just tapes and CDs and around in boxes as I moved around for years. And then I was always going to write a book, which I didn't need all of those tapes. And I thought that I would take the tapes, transcribe them, and I would have my book. Well, what I decided instead was I put them and digitized them and put them into modules. And so you can go in now, and I have seminars there, workshops, I have podcasts, I have audio and visual, I have articles I've written for magazines. I have all of this very amazing digital library of wisdom that you can just listen to and watch at your own relaxed time at their own place. And usually it's $47 a month. And what I have done is I have told people, either it's $47 a month, or you can have the whole year for $197. I think it's $197. Don't ask me. I don't run the organization. Maybe it's $127. But I figured, it's less than 3 months. So you might as well get the year, because you're going to take 3 months, and then you have the whole year anyway, and it's just almost free. But the first month you get for free. And so if you go to marciamartintransform.com, you can join my club, and then you can cancel at any time. If you decide you only want the free month, that's fine with me. And if you want to continue, you can do it either for the 47 or you can get the whole year. And I keep adding materials, as I put more podcasts on, or I have more interviews, or I do more seminars. I did a television show, and there's about 20 episodes, and I'm about ready to upload the 20 episodes of so it's all that. It's really fabulous.
Oh, that is so awesome. And don't worry, all of the information is going to be in the show notes. So
Good.
everybody can find your URL and they can opt in and they can get access to your club. And I'm definitely signing up. That is
awesome.
Genius. I got so much out of our conversation today. Are you kidding? I want to have you like between my ears 24/7 so I can get all this.
A lot of people. It's so funny. People are starting to tell me that what they do in life after they've been coached by me, because I do individual coaching and I do corporate trainings too, is they just say to themselves, what would Marcia say? Well, what would Marcia do? Because after a while, if you're with me long enough and you do enough of my programs or you listen to them or you watch them, you start getting a sense of how I think. And essentially it works. And I'm the first to tell you that if I find something that works better than what I'm telling you, I will immediately change and say that's the way. So I'm not stuck with a truth. I'm just saying I've tried it and it works better than that perspective. This one works better.
That is genius. Wow. Well, Marcia, one of the things we love to do here at the Abundance Journey, we know that when we give is when we truly receive the most. So what can we do to support you?
Well, for sure, buy my book. And for sure, join the club. Because I'm in the last quarter of my life. And this is where I want to give my wisdom away. I want to be an elder and I want to teach the young people and what it means to communicate well and relate and connect and what the laws of the universe are and how things work and how your mind works and how your emotions work and how your body works and what the laws of the whole, how it all works together. And I have been taught that my whole life. And this has been my work. So what you can do for me is take advantage of my wisdom and take it so that you can teach it to somebody else. Do join my club, please. Do buy my book. That would support me.
And I'm also going to encourage everybody listening or watching, once you experience Marcia, whether it's this interview or you join her club and you get all that, and check out her book. It's really cool. Start telling other people about the insights that you got, your interpretation of what you experienced through your engagement with Marcia, because how you are interpreting, like she was saying, the perspective that you're having on this, when you share it with others, again, that whole extended mind thing, you actually expand your thinking as you talk about it with other people and you share the ideas that you learned with other people. You crystallize it more for yourself and you inspire others at the same time. So this is a gift that keeps on giving, and the gift that you're giving is you. Wow, Marcia, I've got kind of a problem. I have pages and pages of notes because you were so freaking brilliant. Oh my God. I have to pick just one thing to do the Activate Abundance segment around. So yeah, making my life a little easy here. Wrong. Gee whiz. How amazing is this? Marcia, thank you so much for your time today. What a delight. What a joy. What an incredible experience.
Thank you so much, Elaine. Really.
Oh, I'm just going to have you back a whole lot of times.
Okay, that would be good. I would love that. We could have our fireside chats.
Yay.
Every few months. Elaine and Marcia.
Great. All right, everybody, stick around because we're going to activate abundance in just a moment. Marcia Martin is a freaking wonder. Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm serious. I wanted to kidnap this lady. She is amazing. I love her insights. I love her perspective. I love her the way she explains things. It's magical. It's really astonishing. Step one is always gratitude. Gratitude is the acorn of your abundance tree. Gratitude is the ignition switch to higher consciousness. Everything you want starts with gratitude. So we always start with gratitude. And there's so much to be grateful for with Marcia. I mean, where do I start? Step two, acknowledge something you heard that was an aha for you, an insight for you. Marcia talked about perspective. I just viewed it as a divine download and kind of a mandate, but she made it really clear. You got choices and you choose the perspective that you're going to adopt. It's kind of like your intention is something that you choose. It's almost like special sunglasses that you put on so you can see things and you only notice things that align with the sunglasses that you've put on. It's a filter that you've put on the world, and that's what you notice. That's what you engage with, is everything that aligns with your intention. And that perspective that everything is love, my perspective, that really helps me interpret the world in a different way, probably differently than most people do. Okay. So step 1 is gratitude. Step 2 is acknowledge something you heard that was an aha for you. Step 3 is appreciate the difference it can make in your life. Well, when I deliberately adopt the perspective, the intention that everything is love, that everything is guiding me to love, and that every single interaction is a request for love, an opportunity for me to show up as the divine within, well, all of a sudden, I don't get as chapped about things. When somebody has a hissy fit or somebody's having a meltdown or somebody's really angry or frustrated, it's not about me. It is just a sign from the divine that there's an opportunity for me to step up and really embody that safe space, be fully present for someone, to demonstrate that love is a constant and they can experience it at any time. So it's not like I react to life. Instead, with that perspective, I engage with life. And it's a joy, it's an honor, it's a privilege to have the opportunity to engage with every situation I encounter. Step 1 is gratitude. Step 2 is to acknowledge something you heard that was an aha for you. Step 3 is to appreciate the difference it can make in your life. Step 4 is to activate it. Now, I found 3 different ways to take something that's a concept and turn it into tangible physical experience. Okay. The first way is schedule time to get it done. I include journaling here because if you don't make time for it, you're not going to do it. You're busy. And I love journaling because so often all these thoughts or emotions are going on through my head and my mind is really trying to get my attention. So it repeats the same thing over and over again. And when I pull out a pad of paper and a pen and I start writing, I can get all that gobbledygook out of my head and out into a place where I can get an objective perspective on it. And now I can see how love is present. When it's just in my mind, I don't always notice how love is present or how I can show up in a way to be that love. And that's the mandate that I've received. So the first way to activate it is to schedule time to get it done. It includes journaling. The second way to activate it is with a physical trigger, like crossing your fingers or tugging on your earlobe. And this is a way that you can remind yourself in the moment, like you're about to do a meeting, and you can just go, okay, every conversation is a request for love, and everything is guiding me to be love in the moment. And I choose this as my perspective. I choose this as my intention. So this is how I show up. So I enter the room with delight, with joy, with wonder, with excitement, grateful curiosity, the most powerful emotion you can have, grateful curiosity, because I don't know what's coming. I just know there are blessings and opportunity for love in every single moment. So cool. How can it get even better than this? The third way to activate abundance is to work with what I call an abundance buddy. Most people call them accountability buddies, but I'm all about abundance. This is somebody who gets you, who loves you, who really wants to support you. And so you tell them, look, this is my new perspective. I would say my new perspective is I'm going to interpret everything as love. So everything that comes into my awareness, I will receive it as love. Everything that I express, I want to express love and compassion and gratitude. Very important. And so they'll call me on it when you notice, well, it didn't sound too much like love and gratitude and compassion right there. You want to reframe that? Because, the other thing that's really funny, it's so easy for me to show up as love, gratitude, and compassion for other people. So good about doing that for me. So having an objective perspective from someone who loves you, gets you, appreciates you, values you, that can really help you get rid of old habits and really adopt that new perspective that you've decided to take on. Alrighty, step 1, gratitude. Step 2, acknowledge something you heard that was an aha for you, an insight. Step 3, appreciate the difference it can make in your life. Step 4, activate it. Schedule time to get it done. Use a physical trigger. Partner with an abundance buddy. Step 5, celebrate your progress. This is a beautiful unfolding of your life, and it's never over. I got news for you. This is not all there is. You are an eternal being. You are forever growing and expanding and unfolding in delight and wonder and joy. There is so much more for you in every single moment. So anchor that in right now, because you know what? The little things are actually the big things. And you are the biggest one of all. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll see you next time for the Abundance Journey.
You've been listening to the Abundance Journey Show with Elaine Starling. Visit theabundancejourney.com/podcast gifts to access today's gift, as well as gifts from our other guests. Tune in every week to activate abundance in your life and business. If something resonated with you, please share it with your friends so they can benefit too. Keep activating abundance, and we'll see you in the next episode.